Hello guys. The title of this episode is what is the most efficient way to improve my essay writing? The answer that I give you in a nutshell is to focus on structural issues with the organization of your essay and not worry so much about spelling, vocabulary, grammar, and so on. Because the successes and failure of an essay turns on getting the structure right. If the structure is sound, then your essay will succeed at the most important level. But if you have serious problems at at the structural level, then your essay will fail, even if your writing is beautiful. The video in this section approach the question of structure from several different angles so that by the end you'll have a much clearer and deeper idea of what you mean when you're talking about structure and writing. The first video, which is this video, this video is on how good essay writing relates to how good essay writing relates to good writing. Alright. And the second one focuses on the point about structure and efficiency. The third talks about the rationale for the standard organizational breakdown of academic essays into introductions, main bodies, and conclusions. And the fourth one explains how different style and essay structure are related. Principles of effective communication that apply generally. That's the top of the hierarchy. Then there is principle of good communication, good written communication. Alright, which is one level down, and below that are principles for fiction and non-fiction writing, which may or may not take the form of an essay. And then there are principles of good essay writing, which is this. And finally we have principles for good academic writing. Each level has principles that are specific to that level, but they also inherit the principles from each of the levels above them in the hierarchy. So a good academic essay also has to satisfy some general principles that any essay should satisfy, and any good essay will satisfy a certain general principle, effective writing and communication, and so on. This is why it's important to start with a high-level overview of what we're actually doing when we are writing. When we write something for an audience and gradually move downward through the clouds, encountering more specific forms of writing with more specific goals. This view from 20,000 feet is important for understanding the mindset of the writer and what you're doing and trying to achieve. For me, I find it helpful when I'm really struggling with my writing to mentally pause and think about the problem I'm trying to solve from a perspective one or two levels above where I'm at. That perspective helps me see a path to a solution or construct a path that I might not otherwise see. Let's start near the top. Symbolic product. The hypothetical audience interacts with a symbolic product, and through this interaction experiences a change in mental state. The, the, the structured symbolic product could be a piece of written text, or a spoken story, or a film, or some other medium of symbolic communication. It's pretty general. By symbolic, I mean that when the audience interacts with the product, they experience it as conveying or expressing meaning of some kind. The product is experienced in a way that causes the audience to entertain certain feelings, beliefs, values, concepts, desires, or whatever. Now, the kind of symbolic communication we're interested in is the one where the creator, the author of the symbolic product, is intending to take the audience on a journey, a transformation that changes that the way the audience thinks through their interaction with a symbolic product. So we're not talking about creating a snapshot, we're talking about an interaction that unfolds over time where the audience interacts with the product. Over time, sampling different parts of the symbolic product encoded in the product in a temporal sequence. The creative task of the author is to construct a symbolic product that has the capacity to lead the audience through a set of experiences in such a way that at the end of the journey, the audience has gone through a sequence of internal mental changes that express the intentions and goals of the author. Now, not all symbolic communication has this goal, but the kind that we're interested in does. We're communicating with the intention of being understood. There are elements of the experience of the author can't control, of course, since the transformation we're talking about requires a suitable audience that brings their own backgrounds and responses into the mix. But there are criteria for success and failure, and the author is aiming at successful communication. Now, even at this very high level of description, there are some takeaway points. The first and most important is the act of communication is fundamentally dialogical. This term means different things in and communication theory, but all I mean by it is that a symbolic product is assembled for the purpose of communicating with an audience and to the means the audience picks up. The meaning is through an extended interaction with the product, kinda which you can think of as a kind of dialogue. The dialogue between the audience and the symbolic. The audience isn't a passive recipient of information. They have to actively engage with the product over time to experience what the author intended. Now, we we're interested specifically in writing. So let's drop the general language of symbolic product and just talk about texts. The symbolic product is a text. The author creates a text with the audience in mind, and the text is structured in a way that it leads the audience through a series of transformations that meditated by the text. Okay, that's the first takedown point. The second takedown point is the level is of this high level description is that it gives us a perspective on what the art and craft and skill of writing amounts of writing. The skill of writing involves creating the text in such a way that it successfully guides the audience through the mental states that the author intends. Okay, there are lots of things that can infer with this summarizing from the author. Some from the nature of the symbolic medium, some from the audience, and some from surrounding social, cultural, and linguistic text. The author's working within the skill of the writer is learning how to structure a text in ways that minimize or neutralize or otherwise navigate the factors that can interfere with successful communication. So the writer has to think about their own ideas and goals, but they also have to think about word choice and organization of ideas within the text. And they have to think about the audience and what the audience will bring to the table. and they have to think about context, but in the end the final product is the text. And all these con, considerations need to be represented and encoded in the text as a straggling entity, because the author isn't going to be around to look over the shoulder of the reader and explain what they're trying to say or correct any misinterpretations. That's the art and craft and skill of writing. These criteria for successful writing originate at the top of the hierarchy, but they apply at all stages below. They apply to fiction and non-fiction writing. They apply to essay writing, and they apply to academic essay writing. In the next video, we're going to talk about how conventional essay structure falls out of the considerations about the goals of writing. But before we go, I just want to pause and note how remarkable and miraculous this human ability that I've just described is. No one really understands how it's possible. We all know a lot, but we don't really. Alright, this is the end of my presentation. This is the first episode, uh, and I will upload the second one shortly. Thank you for listening, and if you have any advice, or like I said, if you have any advice on how I could become better, or if you have any topics you want me to talk about, please let me know, and I'll be happy to do them. Alright, have a great day.